Are you seriously under the impression that just because you stripped me of my titles, I relinquished my DNA?
Careful, Fury. And you wonder why you're out.
I'm Nick Fury. Even when I'm out, I'm in.
What are we talking about today? We're talking about Secret Invasion, Season 1, Episode 2. This one's called Promises.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. What do you guys... Okay, did you like this episode better than the first? I did.
It's because you like Marvel now.
No, I like it because we're getting a little bit more insight into what's going on, and I actually really enjoyed the conversation between Rhodey and Nick Fury. And also, I love that everything that Samuel L. Jackson does, he always has these conversations that are just like, let me tell you this story. And it's somehow like it's relevant, even though it's not relevant.
Yeah, because he's old. And all old
Yeah.
people do this. Let me tell you this story about when I was a kid. Like, why?
Well, it was relevant here. He was using it to like
Okay,
basically
fine.
bait Talos into it.
You asked the question, did I like this episode better than the pilot? Yes, but only mildly.
Okay.
I still don't understand the
it-
point of this show. I don't know why it's a thing. You
you
just
please move your
got through
microphone?
reading. You just got through reading a mock
you.
article of Dial of Destiny and the way that Hollywood is like taking all of these iconic characters and just like and I
Pooping
kind
on
of
them.
feel like that article can be translated into this because Nick Fury is just the old guy who's just way past his prime and needs to just accept it and go home, which he does in this episode. So yay!
Yeah. Well,
But-
I mean, the thing is, everybody's been saying that since the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
You're old. What are you doing? Like, stop it. And then they're all blaming him for stuff that happened, that he just happened to be there. Like, okay, listen, you're getting in the way. You're starting these things. You think that you can do stuff, but you can't. You're fired. Get out of here. It's like, and then he says my favorite line, I'm Nick Fury. Even when I'm out, I'm in.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but it was like I get what he's trying to do and be intimidating, and then he immediately goes outside and cries. Like,
Well, it works. It works because Samuel L. Jackson can be intimidating when he wants to. Like that scene worked for what it was, but it was a
I
lie.
know, but I
wasn't.
laughed. I laughed. Because it was just so weird because it's like we've seen what he's been going through and where he's been. Like he's very much like Tony Starking here, like after, the aliens came and he's having like panic attacks. Like they're taking these characters and they're just like, I'm not trying to say like, demasculating them. They're not. Or it's just they're throwing in these things where like, oh, I wasn't expecting them to be real humans, and now they are. And then that's when we're starting to have problems with them. But we don't really know what the issue was here. I think we're going to get more into it after, in the next episode, because by the time this ends, he goes home to his Skrull wife. So,
It doesn't shock me that he's married to a Skrull.
do you
That
think
does
he knows
not
she's a
shock
Skrull?
me at all.
That would be interesting. He doesn't even know.
See, until this very second, I thought that he knew, and just like, well, she looks like a human, so I'm fine with that. But now I'm wondering, I'm like, wait, because we saw she was a Skrull, and then as soon as he came in, she was not a Skrull.
Right.
What if he doesn't even know?
That would be interesting.
That would be very interesting, because he didn't seem to know that there were that many Skrulls here, until this episode. I'm watching like, oh, is this surprising news to him? Like, I wasn't shocked, but then when I rewatched it and I heard him say a million of us,
A million.
there are a million Skrulls on Earth. Okay, I'm thinking like 1,000, not a million.
A million. A
Okay.
million. It's not the
Okay.
only number in this episode that gets dropped that was kind of shocking. Like, we find out more information about these bombs that went off. 2,000 people are dead. This is already way worse than Sokovia. How come we're not seeing, like, a serious, like, militant effort to do something about this the way that we saw with the Avengers. Like, there's almost
Well, because they're all after Nick Fury.
the president is too busy to go to a UN meeting about 2,000 people being killed. They send Rhodes. The urgency is not there. Why?
Yeah, but the question comes down: what is Rhodes up to? Because is he a Skrull?
No, Rhodes is
the way
Rhodes is playing the bureaucracy game. Like that's what's happening with him now. He's 100% politician. He is completely playing the game right now because we get that whole conversation where he has to. So that's I don't know.
There's a
problem,
big debate right now.
My problem right now isn't so much about the show itself. My problem right now is the consistency with Marvel. 10 years ago, it was a massive deal that Sokovia happened, and it laid the groundwork for a lot of what we saw coming out of the MCU. We have
Civil War on.
We have Nick Fury here, who was at like the epicenter of this massive attack by the Skrulls, and we don't see the same urgency and gumption. Let's do something about this. It's let's sit back, let's talk, let's make a couple of jokes, let's have a really, awkward conversation about, being either a minority or a soldier. I'm still unsure what they were talking about in that scene. and you're fired, go home. Like, no. This does not match up with what the MCU did prior. This is like something,
No.
And again, Rhodes goes to the UN meeting, but the president doesn't. That doesn't ring to what the MCU has been in the past. That's my big problem with this episode.
But the thing is, throughout that they're questioning how come the president isn't showing up, and then we see him again doing all these things. That's what further drives my suspicion that he might be a Skrull.
That's possible.
Because he's trying to cover stuff up.
That's possible.
And that's the whole thing. It's like, let's not bother the president. Let's not bother the president because he's in cahoots with the Skrulls because he's a Skrull.
Are you saying that Rhodey is a Skrull all along, or that in this one, the real Rhodey is out there somewhere, and this actor, that we're seeing, is a Skrull?
I mean, he might be on the moon with Captain America. I don't know. But that's the whole thing. I don't know where it is, but the question comes down, how come Rhodey's being a real jerk here? And I understand the whole bureaucracy and all that stuff too, but it just still seems out of character in a way, enough where I start to go, is he just falling into this and I can't trust people? I mean, because the question that Nick Fury asked him is, how much do you trust your bodyguards? And as soon as he asked that, I was thinking, oh no, wait a second, how much do we trust Rhodey? And the more that their conversation went on, the more it seemed like they're trying to get Fury off their case and put him out of the way so Rhodes can do what the Skrulls are up to.
I had a different question. I had a completely different
Go
question
ahead.
about this scene. Because they're sitting down and they're having a conversation, and, Fury lays out, there's a million Skrulls, blah, blah, blah. And Rhodey's, maybe we should call our friends. Who?
Yeah.
Who are your friends? The Cap, who is either dead or on the moon, but old and decrepit, can't do anything. Tony, who's dead, and the other guy, the Hammer, Thor, who's out there in space. So who are we gonna call?
Hawkeye,
Captain Falcon.
Falcon Punch. Yeah. So Hawkeye, Captain America, the new Captain America,
Captain Falcon.
Yeah.
Spring Soldier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know,
the
man.
new-
I
the
don't
new
know,
ones.
man. Anyways, you and
Yeah.
I have gone back and forth. Chuck, what are your thoughts on this episode? I'm curious. I'm just.
There was the diner scene, the restaurant scene between Rhodey and
Fury.
I liked that conversation. I liked when they're in the freezer.
Yeah.
And they're
She's so good.
Yeah,
she's so
she's
good in
She
that.
really is good.
When
What
they
is-
when she cuts the finger off, and you're like, oh, and she's like, oh, you proved that.
That answers that question.
Yeah. So I like, and then when what's his name comes in, and then just
Gravik.
annihilates everybody. I thought those two scenes were really, really good. Again, I stand by the production that MCU has when they do their films or their TV shows is their production level is really, really good quality. I've never had an issue with their production level.
So her name on the show is Sonia Fallsworth, and the
Yeah.
actress's name is
Yeah.
Olivia Colman.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, they did this in this one too. Previously on, and they showed scenes from Captain Marvel.
Yeah, which was helpful, I think.
I don't like that.
Eh.
Because they completely skipped out previously on from last episode.
Well, they didn't say previously on. It said 1995.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing. It's a
Same
preview.
thing.
They're showing.
I know, but they didn't say previously on because then you would think that they're talking about the show. But they're saying,
Right.
1995, here's what happened. And then 1997, 2 years later, here's what happened here.
But when they jumped to 97 and they showed Talos and Fury,
Yeah.
and they made Fury look younger, and Talos still looks the same as he does.
he did look younger.
No, he did.
No,
he
he
looked
did
the
not.
Same.
Compared to Samuel L.
He
Jackson.
looked this.
Well,
Come
compared to
on.
Samuel L. Jackson, yeah.
Come on.
Oh, you're. I'm saying he looked the same as he does in present day, almost.
Very
His
much
hair's not
so.
changed. He looks the same.
Well, because back in the movie, he was that old.
It's 30 years later.
Yeah. Well, he's also a Skrull. So he
The
can,
actual actor has aged 20-something years from then till they did a fine. They just died. They shaved Samuel L. Jackson and dyed his hair.
They gave him hair. They didn't dye his hair. He doesn't have any.
Oh,
hair.
that's true.
So the
and they put the patch back on.
No,
which
I was watching it again. I watched it twice, and the second time I watched it, I was looking specifically for de-aging, and they did de-age both of them.
Okay, I watched this TV show 3 times.
Oh.
Well, it took me 3 times
Yeah,
to
you
watch
fell
it fully
asleep
because I keep
the first two.
Because there's. I'm sorry. You said last week that there was a lot of sitting. In this episode, there's a lot of sitting.
There's a lot of
Except for that
talking, there's
one
a lot of
scene.
sitting.
There's not except for that one scene in the freezer. There's not a lot that happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's Rhodey at a desk. It's Rhodey at a table. It's Nick Fury on a train. Like I don't like this TV show. Just flat out. I don't like this TV show at all. I think that Marvel has gone off the deep end. Like I'm seeing some notes here. The fact that they brought like the person on the computer and they're looking at Groot and looking at all these things.
Yeah. Extremis and everything. Yeah.
All this stuff. We don't know who's
They're
a Skrull and who's not.
unapologetically taking the plot to X-Men 1 with the whole machine that's going to make them stronger. Come on.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Right.
That is wild.
I was watching this and I'm like, oh, I know the plot.
Yeah.
I know the plot to this whole. I know the plot to this. You ready for this? Here's the plot to Secret Invasion. They're after their bodily fluids.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Their precious bodily fluids.
Yes.
For the harvest. That's accurate.
If they do a plot like that, that'll make it worth
They already
it.
kind of did. They already kind of did because so you have the scientist and it's like you have the guy and it's like every time I go to get like the sample or the whatever, it's not there and it's like, well,
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. If only Sellers was around to still like be in this and like had like a cameo in this, that would just make it
that would be perfect. That
so
would be
much better.
absolutely perfect. That would be absolutely perfect.
that would. You can see a guy like they're at the tables and they're talking. You see a guy walking or like rolling up in a wheelchair, like trying to like salute Hitler. He's fighting back.
So I'm on
Mein
Chuck's.
Führer.
I'm on Chuck's side. I'm not a big fan of what I'm seeing here. I think that might be because my expectations were set a little bit higher. When you have a show that's supposed to be revolving around Nick Fury, you're thinking, oh, this is going to be bombastic and we're going to do a whole bunch of things and the Skrulls are going to happen. Maybe we'll get some things in space. Maybe we're going to get blah, blah, blah. And it's not. It's much more political than I thought this was ever going to be. This is a lot.
Let's think about what this is.
And it's not a political show either, and it shouldn't be.
It
When
is.
was-
It
can you
absolutely is a
recall-
political show. This is all about
it shouldn't be.
politics. I don't
Right,
think it
and it
should be
shouldn't
either.
be.
I don't think it should be either. But
Right.
that's what it is. This is all about politics. Even when you get to the Skrull Council meeting and they basically elect this guy their, what do they say, their general, because we're at a time of war, that's all political. Like, there's nothing... So
I have a problem with that too. I have a problem with that too because even the girl who's like, "I'm not on your side,"
they just let her go,
and then she just gets up and she walks out. Why? Like, in every other TV show, like they let her leave. Why? These guys are the villains, the quote unquote villains. The villain doesn't just let the person who resists them leave.
And we find out at the end of this episode that he really has no problem taking out people who he thinks are expendable or a threat. I mean, there's a guy, he got tortured, and this, no problems killing him at all. But they let this woman leave. I don't understand that.
Hey everybody, Lee from Black and White Reviews here. Just wanted to take a moment to thank you for tuning in, checking out our conversation. If you like this discussion and you want to hear more about this specific subject or other things, check us out on our podcasting sites, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, or Google Podcasts. We're up on pretty much all of them. So yeah, thanks again for popping by, and be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks.